Oh, this is nice. Yeah, it's been a bit chaotic this week, running backwards and forwards to Peterborough, but it's nice just to sit and make a lovely fairy tin. I can't tell you, this is so nice to get away from all the noise and just sit and quietly craft with you guys. So thank you very much. A huge thank you, actually, to everybody that bought the Enchanted Elf, because we sold twice as many of that one than we have of the others, which was just fabulous. It was a little bit scary on air when they're calling 60 and 70% stock updates in the first show, but I'm glad you all managed to get it. So because of that, I thought what we would do is make a tin from start to finish, and then I'll get Andrew to pick somebody out of the class and we'll send it to you. We'll do it as a giveaway. And then also we're going to give something else away on the Quirky Bird Facebook page. So if you haven't joined that already, please do, and then we'll do another giveaway later on in the week. So right beginning, right from start to finish, we're going to do this, including the cutting, because there's a couple of little hints and tips that I want to give you. I'm also going to use some other products like the glaze and the glitters and show you how to mix the hybrid paints to make a spray that can look like snow. So we're going to just have a lovely hour or so. Right, so the first thing you're going to do is, and I've chosen this particular paper because I think it's a little bit more grown up, so it's not as childlike as the gingerbread house, and I love that. I think it's a really interesting paper. And also there's lots of different areas that you can use. So for example, you could start off down here and have the path leading to this little house here. So that could be your image. You could move it over and have, well, you could have half of this house and half of that house on, and that would still work. You can go right over here and just have most of this one, because I like the fact that we've got that mound of snow in front of the windows there. But what I really, really love about this one is if you take it right up to the top, you can use the roof of the house as the snowy ground, and then have that moon in the background. So you've really got a diverse mix of images that you can use from this one piece of paper. For today, I'm going to use this one because I actually really like this little wooden house. I think it's quite cute. And I like the fact that there's almost like fairy dust at the top, like the elf is just sprinkling her magic. So I want to show you the best way to cut out all the rectangles to get them in the right place so that it all lines up perfectly through the tunnel. So I'm going to start by taking a piece of tape, and don't just use little teeny tiny bits of tape. You want a piece of tape that's going to hold its place, stay in place right through the process of cutting them out. So I'm going to tape this down properly. And the other reason that I'm going to tape it down properly is I'm going to see if we can do two at a time, because that will make it much quicker. So I'm going to just knock these down so they're perfectly lined up. Take another bit of tape and just tape the tops together. Okay, so I've got a little bit coming over the front and then some more going over the back. And we're going to put, just for this cut, I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom too, because what can happen with the pressure of the rollers, especially on a thin die and an open die, is that it can move slightly. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of tape at the bottom, okay, like that. So we've now got that really nicely secured. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put it on a slight angle, because sometimes what happens is when the rollers hit that metal, if it hits it straight on, as the pressure goes down, it can slightly splay because it is such an open die. There's nothing solid in the middle to keep its shape. But if you put it on an angle, it's like when you hit a speed bump. If you hit it at a slight angle, it's not as harsh on the actual die itself. And then I'm going to use Cut Tidy just because I'm working in the middle of my mat. I probably don't need it, but I don't know which machine you're using. So a little bit of Cut Tidy doesn't do any harm. Let's put it that way. And I'm going to run this through my machine. And it just needs to go through once. I don't think we need to reverse it. If you haven't got a Pro Cut at the moment and you're in the market for one, I think the one-day special tonight, the Pro Cut is back in stock, which is very exciting. We're not guessing it. I think Carla's doing it, but yeah, it's a great machine. So now I'm just going to peel out these two pieces that I've got that are absolutely identical. Okay, so we've got the two here, and just very gently peel it back. Okay, you want the tape and the die to stay where they are. You don't want those to move at all. So then I'm just going to take off the bottom part of the tape because we've just done the two there. So we're going to peel this back like this, gently. Don't rip it off, just like a plaster. We used to hate that as a kid. When you had a plaster on your finger and then your mum used to just whip it off when you weren't least expecting it. Makes me go a bit goosebump thinking about that. Didn't like that. So then we're going to lift up the piece that's at the back and we're going to peel that one off. Okay, so we've got this now. If we want to do anything else with this, we can use the rest of this paper maybe in our art journals or maybe as part of a little card or a gift tag. So now I've got that. This die is still in exactly the same place, which is exactly what we wanted. So I need 4 layers for this. So I'm now going to put my next one behind, but this time I'm only cutting one because the die, the ridge of the die, the cutting edge of the die has to go through this piece of paper while also being attached to this piece of paper. So if I turn it over, because we need to keep this piece of card in place to make sure that we line it up perfectly, it's taking up part of that, the depth of that cutting edge. So I'm just going to put one more in here, okay, not another 2. So it's just thinking about how the die cutting machine works and how we need to get that nice clean cut. So now I'm using this piece of tape to hold it in place with the second one. So I don't need one at the top now because it's held in place here perfectly. So I'm going to turn that over, put that on a slight angle, cut tidy again, just because we're using almost half the depth of that cutting to go through. Oh, it's lovely. I wish I could see more of you though. I wish you had pictures on because I like to see your lovely little faces while I'm crafting. So maybe next time we can more pictures. You can see, so, oh, there we go. They're all getting a bit braver now. You're getting a bit braver. Come on, you can see me. Let me see you. There we are. That's better. Look, I can see you now. Oh, do you know, we did a retreat at Doncaster the other week, and we actually did these tins on the retreat. And we decided that because I was the quirky bird, you were all going to be my quirky chicks. And I got people asking all the time for the aprons so that when you're crafting with quirky bird, you can wear the apron. So I think what we're going to do to start with is do some fabric panels that you can make your own penny from. So keep an eye out on those because I think that'll be quite cool. And I am probably going to get absolutely slated on social media, but we have made the decision that we are going to put the quirky bird fairies, etc., onto a USB for scan and cut. I wasn't going to do it, and the reason I wasn't going to do it was because of the detail that you get in a die that you don't get in it with a scan and cut, actually inside the image itself, because of the way that a die pushes the card in, but the scan and cut is a straight blade. But we had so many people asking for it that we couldn't really ignore it any longer. So we are going to do one. It will be February. So you can keep an eye out for that as well. And then going forward, there will only be 2 releases a year because we need 6 collections on each one. So they won't be every month. They will be once or twice a year. So that's kind of what we're going to do. And I think, just bear with me a minute because I think I've just turned my producer right off. Oh, there he is. There he is. I quite like him when he's not there because he's a little bit chatty in my ear. And I'm like, just stop. I've got enough going on in my head, enough voices without yours as well. We are still absolutely doing the die collections once a month. Yes, absolutely. We are going back to once a month, and with the next one is, I'm very excited about the next one, is Alice in Wonderland based. And it's super cool, but it's not Scary Alice. And there's not all the characters in it. She's called the Curious One because of the curiouser and curiouser, said Alice. So that's the next one. And then January's, I've just found all the artwork for, is a fairy godmother. And she's lovely. So yeah, we're getting there now. We're getting towards next year, which is good. Right, so I have now got all 4 of my pieces cut out for the right hand side of my tin. And you can see that every single one of them is absolutely perfectly lined up. So I'm going to choose this one to go in the back of the tin. And then these are going to be my next ones. So I'm going to bring in my oval dies now. So the back one's going to stay solid so that when you look into it, you can see the picture at the back. And then I'm going to work from here outwards. So the next one is going to be the smallest oval that we're going to use. And you got these included in your kit. Now you can use the oval, you can use the rectangles, you could use, you know, whatever other dies you've got, if you've got some of the little dies. In fact, we were just looking today, we've just had some new artwork through for 2 Red Robins. And there's another Little Gathering, and the Little Gatherings are a collection where we bring back some of the existing artwork, but we do them small. And that for this will be fabulous. So I might try and get a little class done that we can just put out on Facebook, just to do one with the Little Gatherings, because I think they'd be lovely. So I'm going to go for my next one. Now I'm going to make these quite big because the top one, I'm actually going to stick to the top here at the top rim here rather than putting it inside the tin. So I can go a little bit bigger because I'm not going to need to put foam tape on the one that's going on top. I can go quite thin at the sides. Whereas if you've got to put foam tape on, you need to be aware of that. Talking of foam tape, I've just found this in the warehouse, and this is one of the extra accessories, the decorative elements that we've given you 30% off on today. Look at the size of that roll of foam. It makes the camera strobe. It's fabulous, isn't it? So it's I want to say, how long is this? 46 meters, I think. Andrew's finding it for us. So the code is ELF, so capital E, lowercase LF, and then number 30. So ELF 30. That will give you 30% off anything that I use in, you know, any of the little extra accessories that I'm going to show you today. But it's 46 meters. Is it, Andrew? 46 meters. It's 5 mil wide and 1.6 mil deep, so it's super fine. So it's a really nice thin foam, that one, if that's something that you're interested in. Right, let's get these dies taped in place and get these cut. Andrew's put the link in the chat for you. And it's a link so that, because otherwise I'd have been spent an hour going through all the different products that we're using, and that's not what this is about. So let's just get this central. And you want to try and get it as central as possible. And all I'm doing is looking at the distance between the top of the die and the edge of the paper, the same at the bottom, the same at the left, and the same on the right. And I'm just going to tape that in place. We use this Tessa tape that I think we've actually got on the website now as well. I don't think we've included that in the discount. But I tend to use Scotch removable tape. I really like that one. I've run out and I've got an order in at the moment. So that's why I'm not using it in the class. Right, so I'm going to see how big I can go. I want a little bit bigger than that on this front piece here, because I like a nice open aperture. That's probably as wide as I'm going to go. So that's a nice one. So we'll take this in. And this is where you can then just run all these through in one go, because you've got space if you've got an A4 machine, which is nice. How many of you have made tins already? Put your hand up if you've already made a tin. Yeah, look, I love it. I love it. And I think for Christmas, they're going to be really lovely heirlooms, aren't they, that your family and friends are going to get out every year, which is superb. Right, so let's put these onto here now, and then we can start to build up the inside of our tin. I'm going to use my cut tidy again, just because I've got a lot of dies right across that plate. And then we're going to run it through like that. Oh, in you go. There we go. Right, so let's start to talk about this now, because when you make a box and the lid always has to be bigger than the base, well, it has to be the same with the tin, because the lid has to go over the top of the base, which is quite obvious. But this paper, the one that we've just cut, so the outside die fits perfectly in that tin. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that side. This side, however, you've got to get over the lip and it's got slightly smaller because of the nature of the beast. So we're going to take our pieces and we're going to sand them back slightly. Please don't cut them, because it's more often than not you'll take off too much, because it is like a smidgen all the way around. And also when you're doing your print, when you're taking tape off your printed papers, just make sure that you keep your tape as flat as possible so it doesn't pull the ink. I don't know if any of you saw the cardstock that I had on over the weekend, the Pure Print Glazed. It gives you a little bit of a sheen. It's not as glossy as photo paper, but it is lovely. And we do have a card coming out later on this year called Laser Look, and it gives you the look of a laser printer but on an inkjet printer. So it gives you that sheen that you get, so it's not matte when you print it out. So we've got some really good things coming that will change the look of your reflections and your downloads, which is lovely. And I also noticed we started to put the backgrounds on as a download as well. So instead of having to buy the paper packs, we're starting to put those on as a download as well. I don't know if we've done the Enchanted Elf one yet, but I know we've certainly done the previous fairies, so it makes it a little bit more affordable to keep buying those backgrounds, which is nice too. Right, so I'm going to get rid of all this tape, and then we can start to build the inside of our tin. So let's get rid of that. End up with loads of bits of pink tape everywhere, literally everywhere. And I do prefer the Scotch, I must say. I prefer the Scotch removable tape because it seems to last longer. The pink one I find kind of gets compressed onto the metal. So, but it's each to their own. Right, so we've now got our little house, but we've got all the oval apertures that are cut out. So when I then line those back up, you can see it lines up absolutely perfectly because we've used that technique where we put another piece behind. So that's a really good tip. Then we've got all these pieces, which we might use on the other side, or we might use for something else, maybe a card or something. Right, so let's get sanding back. So all you need to do is get a nail file, doesn't have to be anything exciting, and just sand back the edges. Now you might find this easier, especially when you come to do the ones that have got the apertures in, if you put the foam tape on first, because it stabilizes that piece of card. But for the back one, you can just, because it's still got the whole piece, the center's still inside the piece of paper, you usually find that you're all right with this one. So sand a little bit off and then just bend the cardstock, pop it into the tin and push it down. If it starts to bow slightly, it needs a little bit more taking off. It's when you can pop it in completely flat that you know you've got it right. So I just get a little pair of tweezers underneath, pokey tool, something like that. And I'm just going to take a little bit more off the top and a little bit more off the bottom. The width seems to be all right. So we'll just take a little bit more off. It doesn't need to be a fancy tool or anything like that. Just a nail file will do. And now I can see that that's perfectly flat inside that tin. It's not bowing at all. But because I want to build this up a little bit more, rather than putting foam tape on the back of this time, I'm going to use this product, All Stick, and we've actually given you that code includes this. So you'll get 30% off this glue until midnight on Sunday. So that's good because this is something that I use all the time. Because it's a solvent-based glue, I will warn you that there is an odour to it. It smells like pear drops, but just be aware of that. You know, if you've got any allergies or anything like that, so anything solvent-based bothers you, it is a solvent-based glue. I actually quite like the smell. I probably shouldn't admit to that, but I do. But I know that some people struggle with solvent-based glues. So we've now got that in there. So what we need to do now is start building up our layers. So I'm going to use a thicker foam tape for this. And you want to get your foam tape as close to the edges as possible, the outside edges, to give it as much support as possible. Because I think this is one of these things that's going to be picked up and handled, and people are going to want to look right into it. It's really interesting, actually, at Peterborough. when we did the show the other week, I had these out on my table as I was doing my scan and cut demos. And everyone that came up said, oh, these look better in real life than they do on TV, which was really interesting. So yeah, I don't know how I've changed that really, but it's lovely when people actually get close up to them and really respond to them. So if you're making to sell, you might also get, you know, good feedback about how lovely they are and how detailed they are, which is nice. So I'm just putting a small amount now inside here because I might want to tuck some things behind the aperture. I might not, but I'd rather be able to than not. So once we've got our tape on here, like this, I am then going to use the bookbinding glue and put a little bit of that onto my foam tape because there isn't much room for error really within the tin. So you should be all right getting it straight first time, but I know myself and I know what I'm like. And I'll get in there and I'll be like, oh, should have done it. So we're also going to sand this one off. So right across the top like that. You can go into the corners if you like, but it doesn't really matter in the corners because once the top and the bottom is in, should be all right. And then the sides, just taking off that little bit. At this point, if you wanted to, you could add some glitter onto these. We're giving you 30% discount off the Craftmaster glitters as well, which is great. But I have a bit of a problem with glitter. It gives me sinus infections because I used to work in an attic with no window. Oh, no, sound like Shum, don't I? And I used to use glitter every day and big pound jars of glitter, and then get rid of all the glitter the morning after from the garments that I painted, and it wasn't very good for me. So yeah, I have a bit of a thing with the glitter now. So I'm going to push that in like that and just press it down, and then make sure that you press down firmly all the way around because you want that nice and flat. Okay, so we've now got our first 2 layers in there. So my next layer, I'm going to do a double layer of foam because I want to lift it further up the tin. Okay, so I want more distance between this layer and the next layer. So I'm going to use my tape again, just go to the edges like that. And I know for some of you we've done this before on previous classes, but I thought it was only fair because we sold a lot more of this one. So a lot more Newbies to Quirky Bird, that we did a tin from start to finish so that you can see, because we don't always get time on air, just the way that it is. It is a shopping channel at the end of the day, but we have to just be aware that we are time restricted. And then we've got another one on here. And next year in April, well, end of March, beginning of April, we're launching our new classes, which will be lovely. So you'll be able to come and see us in Derbyshire and stay with us for anything from half a day to a week. Won't that be fabulous? It's very exciting. All the footings are in for the new building, which is lovely. You can start to see it coming together. In fact, Andrew, who's in my ear but pretended not to be because he's been really quiet now, has been out with the drone, taking pictures of what's going on with the drone. Drones, I don't know. What's the world coming to? Right. It is just concrete at the moment. Well, it's like a swimming pool at the moment, to be fair, because we've had a lot of rain. So they dug a big channel the other day and within an hour it was full of water. I was like, well, that was a ridiculous thing to do. So I'm double layering now. So I'm making sure when you put your tape down, don't pull it too tight. And what I mean by that is don't stretch it, because then what will happen is the card that you're putting on starts to bow. So just kind of put it on, let it rest a little bit like you used to with a peel off, press it down and then snip it off like that. And then we'll do the same on this side as well. Now I'm not putting any around here because it doesn't need that support, and we might tuck things underneath. So I've now got my next layer, and just make sure that it's nice and flat. So file again, You have to do it on all the layers because they're all going underneath that same lip. And the reason we couldn't do it in the nest is because we couldn't get the cutting edge close enough to the biggest one. And it would have meant you buying a separate die, which was just a complete and utter waste of money. So there was no point in doing that because it's cheaper to buy a nail file than it is to buy a die. So we think about all these things when we're building these collections for you. I'm going to snip. I can see I've got some light edges. So if you have a look and you can see any of the foam behind, put your scissors on an angle and just snip at the corners, and that will get rid of those edges. Now we're going to take this off. If you don't sand it, what you'll find is that bow, when you put your foam on it and you push it down, it wants to constantly lift. And it's a pain in the neck because you have to keep going back and pressing it down. So learn from my mistakes. It's funny, isn't it? I had a few people at Peterborough say, oh, you never make any mistakes. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea. I absolutely make probably more mistakes than all you lot put together. However, we try and do it before we go on TV. But yes, we absolutely make mistakes. We get things wrong all the time. But you know what? Sometimes it turns out good because sometimes you discover something new because of a mistake. In fact, actually, I would say probably 90% of the time that happens, especially with scan and cut, because I'm like, oh, if it does that, then I could do this. And it starts this whole other chain of events going on. Right, so we are now going to put our top layer actually on top of the rim of the tin. So you're not going to be able to close the tin unless you don't put anything in this side, you just put a picture in. But I think it's really nice to have this open space at the top, and it means that you can get inside and you can still fill in your little tin. So we're going to do that now. So the best way to do it is to take your tin and this glue and go around the edge. You can't use a PVA glue for this because you're going onto metal, and metal doesn't absorb the glue, so you have to use something like this. You could get away with a really fine red liner tape, but you would have to put it around the edge of this. It would have to be super, super fine. But this, just because it's got that movability to it. And the other good thing about this glue is if you get it somewhere that you don't want it, you can just literally roll it into a ball and it comes off. So it is a good glue, but if you do worry, if it does bother you that it's got a smell, either open your windows or use it outside. So I'm just going to go on here now. So I've now got this side of my tin ready to go, and you can see now, you can see right into that picture. So we can now start building up our scene. So let's bring in all our little elements that we've got here and have a lovely, lovely play with these. So I am going to bring in our little deer here, and I'm going to have him. This is where I just start to play. So I'm playing around and I'm looking at what do I want and where do I want it. See, I like that deer there. I think that's lovely, but I have to think about where my elf's going to go. So this is why I cut out all this stuff, because I like to be able to take her and see where I want her to go. Now, because I am going to keep this tin open, so I'm not going to fold it up, because if you're gifting it to somebody, you can still gift it flat. I think it's lovely, and I like the fact that he's looking up at her. But you might want to do it completely differently. You know, this is your tin. This is where you start to really put your spin on it. Then I look at, do I want any of this foliage in here? Well, I kind of do. And the reason that I do is because I've got green on her and the rest of it is very neutral. So if you didn't want to use the elf, this is a really good image to use. If you wanted it a bit more grown up, then absolutely, you don't need to use the elf at all, because you've got the deers and you've got the owls and you've got that foliage in there. But I do love her. I think she really is a little bit quirky. So I've then got all these different pieces. So looking at the oval, yes, I could have that here, and I could have one at the bottom corner like this if I wanted, which is lovely. So you could do that. You could even have one on all four corners like that, if that's what you wanted. If you wanted to make it really full, you could use this at the top and at the bottom if you wanted to, which is why we gave you all these different ones. I actually don't think that's chunky enough. I think because we've got that, the image looks quite chunky, I want something a little bit more at the top and bottom. So do we then go for that? Again, I don't think that's chunky enough either. So I'm going to go back to these kind of swags here, but I'm going to put them on this way rather than in a corner because it gives me that depth. It's thicker this way, so it works better, I think, with the image. This is just my personal opinion. And then I can still pop her up there like that, so she works. And I can still have him down there like that. So I quite like that, but I also like that. See, so then do I have one there and one there? So then this corner is filled in with the deer and this corner is filled in with the elf. That works. So rather than, and I have no idea when I'm doing it, you know, when I'm sitting there, I think, right, I have no idea. I don't plan it out. I just let it happen, which is quite cool. So normally I would put top left, bottom right, but actually I'm going to put top right, bottom left, because it leaves this space open for other elements so they're not lost. But just before we do that, I'm actually going to pop him in there. So if I pop him there, does he detract from there? No, because I can move him over to this side. So I'm going to use some Pinflair glue gel just on the bottom of him here, like that. And I'm going to pop him so he's just peeping out of that corner like that. I'm then going to take some, might have a little owl actually. Let's see what the little owl looks like. This was your free gift with purchase, which was lovely. And I loved this owl when I saw it. As soon as I saw this, it reminded me of Hedwig from Harry Potter. Obviously got nothing to do with those films whatsoever, but that's who it reminded me of. Yeah, I quite like him coming out there. So I'm going to snip his wing off and pop him so it looks like he's coming in over the roof. And this is when you start to tell your little story. I like this. Imagine making these with your children and your grandchildren and your nieces and nephews for Christmas. They're going to have all sorts of little stories going on in their heads, aren't they? I know I'm finishing early for Christmas this year because I haven't really had a break. So I'm finishing on the 16th of December. Till the 4th of January, I'm having a proper long break. So Alice and I are going to do loads of crafting together. And when she finishes school, I'm going to get her in my craft room making some of these tins for her mummy and her daddy and her other grandma, which will be nice. So I'm going to pop one there and I'm going to pop the other one there. She actually WhatsApp videoed me last night. She was dressed as a werewolf going out trick-or-treating. And she went out on our road. Now, our road, there's only 17 houses on our road, and there's quite a lot of older people live on there. I class myself as one of those. So kind of, 50s upwards, who are not really into the trick-or-treating. So she came back. I said, have you been to everybody's house? She went, yeah. And nobody answered. It's just rude. I was like, Alice, you can't say that. I was like, oh, dear me. She picks up these little terms that we come out with. She's hilarious. Right, snowflakes. Now I had, here they are, snowflakes. So let's start to add some of these in here like this. So I want some little teeny tiny ones. Now we did put, I think, a couple of different colours of these up for you. And when we did the retreat, I gave them all the pale blue ones. And they were like, blimey, could you not have made that any paler? I can't see it. So if you prefer to just use white card instead, that's, you know, it's entirely up to you, but we have put the different ones on there. The original ones were quite bright teal, and when I used them I was like, oh, don't like that, they're the wrong colour. And the reason for that was because there wasn't any teal anywhere else, so it didn't balance, it didn't work for me personally. They were too bright and it didn't make sense in the design, but that's what the colour of the artwork was when we got it, so we changed it. But I think we left that original colourway on as well. So if you want to do it on your baubles, because I think these would be quite nice on baubles and on Christmas crackers as little decorative elements as well. I think that would be quite nice. Think about using them slightly differently. In fact, if we're hosting Christmas dinner this year, I might do the whole table as the Enchanted Elf. I might print some off onto rice paper, put them onto candles. Everybody's little name place could be one of the little tins. So there's so much that you can do with these. I just think they're super cute. So let's get this on here and pop this under there like that. And it's lovely just to make something different to a card or, you know, a scrapbook page or a journal. It's just nice to have something a little bit different that you can do. Especially now the nights are drawing in, which I have to say personally I love the dark nights. I love it because it goes dark so early that you think, oh, all right, it must be nearly bedtime now, and you look at your clock and it's only about 8 o'clock and it's like, yes, I've got more time to craft. That's why I love it. So now I'm going to pop him there like that, and there. So, okay, so we've now got our deer. So what I want to do now is do something with our elf, because she doesn't have wings like the other fairies. And I know some people have really liked that, which is why we're changing the name from fairy tins to curio tins, because they're not all going to have a fairy, which I think is the right decision, actually, because I think people thought it was more for children. And actually, some of them that are coming up are quite grown up, which will be nice. So something a little bit different coming. So to do the wings, I need 2 of the larger owls and 2 of the smaller owls. And we're going to snip the wings to give her some wings. So the Alice one doesn't have wings. The curious one, looking forward to her. She's really funky. Oh, just dropped it on the floor. Of course you have, Melanie, because you're having one of those days. Right. So let's make her some wings. So we've got the owl. I'm going to cut off the wing that doesn't have any foliage on, and I'm going to cut it off right at the bottom there by his head. 2 of those. And then I want this wing off the smallest one. And that's quite difficult to get to. So if you turn it over and do it from behind, your scissors sit a little bit better in place as you're doing it. So turn this over. We're also starting at Highlight Crafts, and Andrew will be able to tell me the date, a morning highlight show. Stephanie and Diane and I are doing the first one. Then you'll meet Amanda and David. Well, you'll get to chat with them. Do we know? The plan is the 21st or the 22nd of November. So you'll be able to be an hour, you'll be able to join us. We're going to be chatting all stuff craft. There's no selling, there's no product, things like that. It's just all crafty chat, which I think is going to be super cool. So yeah, you'll be able to join us in the morning and see what we're up to that week and what we've been up to outside of work, and just lots of crafty stuff. New products that come in, you know, that kind of stuff. Just not just highlighted, but either it's going to be all sorts of different stuff, which is super exciting. Right, while we're doing this, I just want to talk to you about this product, Craftmaster Glaze Drops. Now you can get it in a little tub, or you can get it as little drops, and it will become dimensional. If I just grab a piece of black card from over here and show you. So you can make it into a proper little bead. Comes out quite quickly. You need to snip the nib, so don't snip it too far, but this is nice just to add a little bit of a glaze. So if you wanted the bells to be a little bit shiny, you know, things like that, but you can also use it with a brush. So if you get the little tub, you can only use it with a brush. If you get the bottle, you can use it with the nozzle and with the brush. And I'm just going to add a little bit of it over the top. It's a bit like the tattered lace decoupage glaze that we used to bring you, which is lovely. It's also quite a good glue as well. And it dries really with a really lovely sheen. So I'm going to add a little bit onto here and a little bit onto these wings. And then I'm going to use a little bit of glitter over the top. And if you haven't seen the Craftmaster glitters, we bring you a lovely selection in one pack. Make sure that you wash your brush straight away because it is like a varnish, so you don't want that to stay on your brush. Brush cleaner from Cadence is a good one. And then these little pots of glitter have two openings. So they have one on either side, one that will literally sprinkle loads and one that's like a little salt pot. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of this over the top, just a sprinkling of glitter. I don't want them completely covered because I want you to still be able to see the detail in those wings. So let's get these stuck onto her. It just adds that little bit of extra. Do you know what I mean? That little bit of something extra. So you can do some with, some without, whichever you prefer. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the bookbinding glue on here. And I put the larger ones behind her. So kind of where her shoulder is there, kind of just level with that, but on a slight angle. So I'm bringing it down slightly. So the top of the wing is right up against the top of the sleeve there, like that. So I'm going to that firmly so it grips. If I was doing this normally, I would probably glue it first, then put the glaze on, then put the glitter on. Okay, so I would do it in a different order just because now I'm putting glue over the top of glitter rather than directly onto the cardstock. And then the second one is going to go kind of at the side of her face. So where her collar is there, the top of her collar on the left, I'm lining up the wing to that and then bringing it up so it goes just above her hand on that angle like that, and then press firmly, and we'll let her start to dry off a little bit more. So she's then going to sit like that. I think she's lovely. Really, really lovely. I'm really pleased with that. So now we're going to do this side of the tin. So I'm going to just clean up like I do, like that. Bit of, like, just swipe everything to the side. And I'm going to pop her there. And we're going to go back to our dies now. So let's use a different paper this time. I think I'd like to use this one because I think at the side of here, this would look really rather nice. So I'm going to use the bit with the sleigh on to start with. So I'm going to use this bit, and then I might use the bit that's got the reindeer on the front. Or actually, I think what I will do, because I change my mind all the time, as you can tell, I might use this because I actually really like the moon. I think it's lovely, but then do I need a bit of snow? You see, you've got to decide what's right. I'll tell you what we'll do both. So we'll do this. This will be nice to show you. And if we go over the hour a bit, I don't mind. And if you have to go somewhere, you can always watch it back because we'll send you a link. Right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this through because I've just had a nice idea. I'm going to pop that on there. You see the smoke coming out my ears? That means I've just had a thought. My husband usually dives under the table when I say, oh, I've just thought of something. He's like, uh-oh. Right, let's run this through and let's get this on the side. Get you. There we go. Right, so we'll do this one for inside here, which will be nice. And then I'm going to cut one for the front as well while we're here. So let's take that die. See that now? You could cut across there. That would make a really nice little card or a gift tag to go with it, which I think will be lovely, having that whole picture on. But I'm going to use, might just use the sleigh, I think, for the front, like this. So let's cut this one out as well, because I don't want too much on the front. I just want that. So we'll run that through. Right, so while that's going through there, I'm going to go back to one of the pieces that I cut the aperture out of earlier. I'm going to get rid of that tape that's on there. And I'm going to use this to make, let's just move her out of there. So I'm going to use this waist bit to make this look like it's grounded, because right now all you see is the treetops and then the moon in the background. And I've got snow here, so I think it needs snow going across here. So I'm actually going to tear, and if you tear towards you, you will get that white edge. So I'm just going to tear this like so, and I'm going to go right the way along, right over the path, etc. Like that. Then I'm going to take my piece of paper out, and I'm going to position this over the bottom there like that. So now it looks like you've got a snow, then the trees behind it, then the moon. So it takes it from being higher up in the picture. You're using this to ground it. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of that thin foam onto here. No, I'm not. I'm just going to use this one because I don't want to just waste that whole roll of foam because I've cut into it. And go back into the warehouse then, because I just wanted to show you that that's what we've got. Right, so I'm going to pop this on here like this. So foam straight across. Then I'm going to curve this round here. So I'm going to cut away those corners. If your scissors get really sticky with the foam that you're using, dip them in water first, because it stops them sticking to the adhesive. And if it does stick to the adhesive, I would use hand sanitizer, which I'm sure we've still got a lot of, or lighter fluid, like a Zippo lighter. The lighter fluid brings the sticky off brilliantly. So then I'm going to cut round there like that, and round the edge like that. So I've now got that grounding element there. So I've now got the snow. If you wanted to do a second layer, you absolutely could. So you could just turn this over and cut this now. Now I would do this with the trimmer, because then you'll get a straight edge. If I do that, you've then got another one that can just sit behind there like that. In fact, let's do that. So let's stick that one flat like that. And these are just using up all the bits that you've got left. So I'm going to push this down like so. Press it down firmly, turn it over, and then just snip away the excess. And always turn it over, because if you do this, one, your blades can't get right to the edge of the card, but two, you can't see where you're cutting. So if you turn it over and use the edge that you can see, you're more likely to get a nice even finish. So now we've made that continue as the picture. So I like that idea. I think that works, because you've got the snow in the picture and now you're making it, you're giving it that perspective, really. So back to my solvent-based glue, because we're going into the tin itself, round the edges, a little bit in the middle. And then we're going to pop that into this side here. Okay, so we've now got our scene. So our fairy is going to go, or our elf rather, is going to go up there like that. And I'm quite happy for her to kind of, she's looking upwards and she's blowing all the frost and the snow into the woodland. So I'm quite happy for her to come slightly over the top of the tin like that. And then we can start to decorate this side. So do we want to replicate the corners here? Because this is quite nice. So we're bringing the corners over from there and we're putting them there like that. Do we want them with a wreath? So do we want one of the wreaths in here? Like that. So we're making a proper little picture. Quite like the wreath actually, but I might just do this. Do I want that corner up there? Do I want it down there? And it's all just moving stuff around and having a look and seeing what you like. Because if you like it, then it's right. If you look at it and you think, oh, I'm not sure about that, then there's something missing. I could put that in there and then right, let's just stick it down, Melanie. Because this is where I do a Leone and start faffing. She does it on her and she's like, oh, right, stop faffing, just do it. And I'm like, yeah, I absolutely hear that. I do that all the time. My best trick is when I'm laying out a card and putting the composition together, and then I lay it all out and I'm like, right, I'm happy with that. Take everything off to start gluing it down and completely change it. I'm like, why have you just even bothered doing that? So we could put the little wreath in there, but actually I think I would like to have another deer. So I think we have the little fawn just stood in there like that. Look at that, I love that. That's going to be super cute. Now I want him to go just behind that foam, so I'm just going to chop his feet off. I know that sounds really mean, but I want him to look like he's behind it. I do love this artwork. These deer, I think they're lovely. I'm going to pop him in there. So he's looking over there. Then we can have an owl, maybe. The bigger one work, or do I need the smaller one? No, the bigger one works there. So I'm going to give him, I'm going to push his wing back slightly. So where the little cut line there is on his head, I'm going to push back from there, and then I'm going to pull that forward. So I'm giving it some depth and dimension. And it doesn't need to be layered up then. I mean, you can absolutely layer it up if you want to, but I'm just thinking, so push back, go up about 0.5 centimetre to where the first kind of scallop of his wing starts, and then pull that forward. And then that can go up there like that. Quite happy with that, but I need something else down here. So we could have the little elf, because nobody's ever seen her, so she might have lots of little helpers. We don't know. All we know is that the fairies know that she's been, because the woodland turns into a winter wonderland. So who knows? You can make your own story up as you go along. Now let's pop that there, because I like that owl coming in from there. I'm going to have the little fairy down here, the little elf. I will insist on calling her a fairy. She's not a fairy, she's an elf. And you can get really teeny tiny little bells, and that would be fabulous on there. So I'm going to pop her up there, and I'm quite happy with that. I think that looks lovely. Right, so she's going to go up there. So we've now got our little beginning of our tin put together. So what I'm going to do now is turn her over and do the front for you, because we might as well do the front and the back while we're at it, because we're all here, we're all settled, so why not? Already cut that piece out. Oh, let's get this out of here like this. And you'll see now, because that's been put through quite a few times, this tape is starting to split a little bit, but keep all the bits, because you can use it for your other dies, things like that. Right, so I need to make sure that my tin's the right way around before I stick it down, which it is, because I've done that before and gone, oh, upside down. I'll get the sleigh on here, and we'll make this a really nice Christmas scene. I think what I'm going to do this year for my wrapping, because I hate wrapping presents. I hate it because I'm rubbish at it. It drives me crazy. So I bought myself loads of the tape pens the other day when they were on $5.39 for 12, which was ridiculous. So I bought loads of those. I've got some really nice proper brown paper. I've got some red and white baker's twine, and I've got some craft card that I'm going to cut the tags out of. And then I'm going to make a nice big bow on the top of each of the presents, and then use these to decorate it, and try and make myself love decorating wrapping presents more than I do right now, because I really don't like it. So I'm going to put these on here because I think this looks quite nice. So do I want those, or do I want this one? No, I want these because it's wider. So it fills that space better. Also, it's kind of replicating the angular part of the sleigh there. So because this comes down, goes across and then out, I'm using that. This is how I think when I'm doing things. This is how I come to the conclusions that I come to, right or wrong. So I'm going to pop this behind here. I'm going to make this a little bit dimensional. It's up there like that. So it's lifted off. So again, even just using that little bit of depth means that you're lifting. By lifting that, you're making the sleigh go further back. I think I will have the little deer family. So I'll have the baby one, little fawn there, looking over there. And then I might have the moon gazing one. No, I think he's a little bit too big. Is he a little bit too big? Let's get rid of the fawn and see. If we put him over there, that's better, because it looks like he's walking over there, ready to draw the sleigh. I have all these little stories going on in my head. This is why I'm constantly talking to myself. Oh yeah, that'll be nice there, and this will be that there. Yeah, keeps me out of mischief. And then we'll have the owl on the front like this. And then we'll add some little snowflakes. And then all we need to do then is the back. So I'm going to add some glue gel on here because it's coming out to one of you guys. So pop that like that. Put a little bit, go a little bit more extravagant. Like that. And we're putting the wings down. I'm going to put a little bit of glue gel just behind his body there as well, so he looks like he's in flight rather than being flat. Like that. And then what else have we got? I actually think that's enough. I'm going to put some little snowflakes on. Get all this lot out of the way and put some little snowflakes on, because that's what she's doing. She is filling the forest with snow and frost. So we'll pop a few of these little ones down here. And again, you could add some little bits of glitter onto these as well if you wanted to. And then put one over there like that. And then I want one more little one down here. So I'll try and use threes, odd numbers, create more interest on a project. Even numbers create symmetry. Or you could even layer them up. That's quite nice layered up. So if you don't like glitter and you don't want sparkle, just layer up your snowflakes, put some of the smaller ones inside the big ones. It takes away that blank space. Let's see if I can find another one that's got a little bit of an open space. Let's have a look. There's bound to be some in these. There's hundreds of them. Like that. That's a nice one. So I'll pop that on there. Like so. I actually think we've done 30% off the bookbinding glue as well today, which is good. So you can stock up if you like. And then I'll just put a single one. So I'm going to grab this and just put a single one through here. So you can see that when you've done all your die cutting, it actually comes together quite quickly, which is nice. I mean, I'd like to just sit and take a couple of hours to do one of these, because it's just my mindful place. It's just where I disappear from all the stuff that's going on in the world at the moment and just disappear into my little craft room. There, I think. I'm going to pop that there. Right, so now we want to do the back of the tin. So this is where the story comes in. And of course, you don't need to use the story if you don't want to. It's just that I like telling the stories, I think. That's probably why we do it. So I'm going to pop that over there. And we're going to bring this in. So we're going to bring this back in. So I'm going to cut this, and then I'm also going to cut one of the snowflakes as well, just to show you. So actually, I can just tell you about the snowflakes. So when you cut your snowflakes, if you cut a couple of sets, so if you have one here and then one next to it, and you cut them, not only have you got your snowflakes, but you've also got a bit of a stencil going on. So you can then use your blending tools, your inks or your blending tools, or even your Cadence paint and your blending tool with the extender, and actually just make, you know, almost stencil the little snowflakes onto the back of the picture, which would be lovely. I'm not going to do that for this because you can decide at home whether you want that or not. In fact, what I'm going to do is put the story in separately. So if you don't want to put it on the tin that I send you, you can put something else on the back and decorate it. I'll give you the option of that one because not everybody wants the stories, I've discovered. I love the stories. It's what makes the character, but everybody's different and that's okay. In fact, it's good to be different. So let's now take this, which is where it all started with the Confident Fairy. So we're now going to take this and we're going to pop this onto the back of there like that, or you are or not, whoever wins this. Now there is one more thing that a couple more things that I want to show you, and that is using the Cadence products that have been on air recently. So I'm just going to make myself some space. If you're going to use this, you're going to need to clear a space in your craft room and put a cloth or some plastic down underneath because it does spray with quite a wide spray. So I'm just going to cover up my jeans because last time I got paint all over them. So this is a hybrid metallic. It's called Pearl. And hybrid metallics go on any surface. So you can use it on glass, plastic, wood, metal, all sorts of things. So if you weren't going to close your tin, you could actually paint it with this. I would get some sponge and stipple it on so it would look like it's been sponged. In fact, let's just see if I've got a tin that I can do that on. I haven't got any sponge with me though. Stephanie hasn't got any in here either, has she? Just get a little bit of sponge. We do cut and use sponge and just sponge it on or stipple it on with a brush. That would look quite nice. But what I've done with it is put some into a little spritz bottle. So I just got some of these online and put about 1 part paint to about 2 parts or 3 parts extender. And the extender makes the paint more fluid. So you can then blend with it with a brush, which is mind-blowing for an acrylic paint. You can paint with it so it looks like watercolour, and it's just a fabulous thing to do. So all of your paints now can become a spray. It can become a blending, almost like a blending ink, but actually use less of it than you do with your ink. It's a really cool product. So I'm going to give it a shake, and then I'm just going to very gently just start to pump. And you need very, very little, but it gives you this look of snowfall. So I'm going to bring the tin in, and I'm just going to pop a little bit like that, and it changes the whole thing. You can also use it for things like 2 red robins because it looks like pollen is floating through the sky. So if I turn this over now, I'm going to do the same on the inside. So just hold it up quite far away you want it. And then a couple of squirts, that's all you need. You don't need any more than that. And it gives this really nice big finish. So my advice would be do it onto a piece of card like this, because then you can take your piece of card, fill it in a bit more, and then you can die cut out of that or use it as a background. So use the fact that the spray goes quite wide to your advantage, but that now looks like a galaxy. It's just fabulous. The other one that I want to show you, I'm just going to bring in another piece of black card because this won't get wasted. That's the white pearl, and it's almost got a very, very, very soft silver shimmer to it. But if you want something more silver, then Shake and Gilt. So Shake and Gilt has got like a mica glitter inside it. So this isn't extended. This isn't something that you mix yourself. This comes direct from Cadence. In fact, Stephanie's over there at the moment with Cadence, finding all these new goodies, which is super exciting. It's going to come back full of ideas. So again, you can do this and it's super fine. It's like you're just sprinkling glitter. It is an amazing product. You will get some thicker areas and some thinner areas, but that's quite nice. But again, it gives you this proper luster. They do it in gold, silver and pearl. So if that's a better alternative for you rather than buying a spray bottle, then we do have the shake and gilt. But I do like doing it with the paint because I like it when I can buy one product and do lots of different things with it. A lovely Lou Withers has been using it in a water brush recently. So putting the extender in the water brush, picking up the paint and using it that way. There's so many different things that you can do with it. It's fabulous. But this will dry and give you a proper metallic silver shimmer. But you can see that coverage is just phenomenal. Just be aware that you want to put some plastic or some kitchen roll underneath your glass mat on your table, because it is, especially with the paint, because it's a hybrid acrylic, you either need to get it off really quickly, but just make sure that your surface is properly covered. So, Andrew, pick me a number from what? Let me have a look. 5, 10, 15, 20, 21. Between 1 and 21. Oh, we're number 1. I don't want to send it to myself. So, number between number 17. I don't know why I closed my eyes when I did that because it doesn't make any difference. Nikki. Nikki has won the tin. So Nikki, if you can contact us with your address, if you email me at mel@highlightcrafts.com. So just mel@highlightcrafts.com. I will send you out that tin. And then for everybody else, I want you to go and have a look. Keep an eye on Quaker Bird Facebook page because we will give something else away on there as well throughout the week. Code is ELF, so capital E, lowercase L and F, and then the numbers 30. That will get you 30% off tins, backing papers, glues, paint, glitters. I think that's it. I'm trying to remember everything that's on there. So all the stuff that you will use on a regular basis doing your tins. And please, please, please. Oh, there you go. Andrew's bringing a page in for you. Oh, yeah, foam roll, all of that. Please, please, please share your makes on the Quaker Bird Facebook page. We're trying to build it as a proper brand page. So we'll have lots of tips and inspiration and bits of Facebook Lives and all sorts going on there. And yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun. Thank you, Andrew. Can you take that out for me now? Then I can say goodbye to my lovely people. There you go. So thank you ever so much, as ever, for spending just over an hour with me today. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I am back on air at the weekend on... Stephanie's launching a new Two Red Robins collection on Friday as a weekender. I'm picking it up. And then Ink Lily, fingers crossed, is going to be back on, I think it's Monday, as a new and exclusive. Maybe in a different format, depending on whether we've still got all that education that I filmed or whether it got lost in the transition. So yeah, I will see you on air very soon. And then I'll see you in December for the last Quaker Bird of 2022. Lots of love. Take care. I'll see you all soon.